Alright guys, welcome back from spring break. This looks just like our classroom, doesn't it? Good times, good times. Welcome back. I hope everybody's first week is going back according to plan. Hope everybody's classes are going as smoothly as possible in our new normal, as I call it, for the rest of the semester. As promised, we will still have lectures since you are in face-to-face classes, so I will be recording my lectures and posting them on a YouTube channel I'm going to create just for you guys. You are welcome. So bear with me through this first one or two. It's a little different for me too, believe it or not. We're all having to adjust as well. So this may not be the smoothest, but we're going to have a lecture that not exactly looks like our Weatherford classroom or our Granbury classroom, right? It's a little prettier. Today your lecture is coming from my mother's beautiful backyard. My dogs are out here running around. They might be in the shot a few times. But I do have my PowerPoint up on my phone to go with so I don't get too lost. And every week I will post the lectures that we would have on either Mondays or Tuesday, Thursdays, depending on if you're on the Granbury campus or Weatherford campus. And that way, if you do not have to, you do not have to, but if you would like to access them, they will be available to you on YouTube. So, any questions? No? Good. Okay. So we are going to commence just like we would have during our regular first week back of spring break. We're picking up with the phenomenal World War II, which can't go too wrong with, right? So let's go back. Let's see, what is it? Almost 3 weeks now? Let's go back to before spring break when we left off with the Roaring Twenties. You guys don't forget, covering chapter 25 book quiz on your own this week. Review posted on campus. Quiz is open. Don't forget to get that taken by midnight on Saturday. But since you were taking the Great Depression on your own, we are going to commence with what comes after the Depression. What comes after Hoover, bless his heart, phenomenal human being, not the best president during the Depression, followed by easily, according to most historians, the greatest president of the 1900s, FDR, who you will see as you read your chapter 25 book quiz, but also as we move into World War II, because he will be our leader that leads us through about 95% of it. Spoiler alert, guys. He's going to die about 3 weeks before the end of the war with Germany. It's kind of sad. But, anywho, let's commence with World War II, which, by the way, if you see me looking down, I've got my phone here on a table. I also have not one, but 2 cups of coffee, so we're good to go. But, this is about right? Yeah, my 8 o'clock Thursday class, this should seem about right? Anywho, into World War II we go. So, country has been suffering greatly for years over on our side of the world as we go through the Great Depression. Again, reading chapter 25 book quiz on your own. But while even our country is suffering and going through the Great Depression on this side of the Atlantic, on the other side in Europe, things have been transpiring for a long time due to a very specific leader who rose to power over in Germany. You may have heard of him before. Great old Adolf Hitler. Now, let's see if anybody can go back in their mind frames. Let's go back in our mindset and remember World War I. There was a true beginning of World War I that occurred way before war was actually declared, right? Same thing with World War II. According to most historians, World War II will truly begin when Adolf Hitler rises to power as Chancellor of Germany in 1933. Because if he had not become Chancellor of Germany in 1933, nothing else would have transpired and we would not have had the results of the events that will occur. So, war, by the way, is not declared until 1939. But the true beginning, great test question, is when he rises to power in 1933. Which, Hitler is a very interesting topic. So we say, you want to talk about a phenomenal leader, a phenomenal general, a phenomenal politician, but also the most sadistic, the dog agrees, by the way, the most sadistic, narcissist, racist, just evil, twisted, dark individual the world's ever seen. If he is not the worst to date, he is up in the top 2, let me tell you what. And so he's such an interesting, mix, and fuel of all these different genres of classifications of type of people, because he is absolutely this brilliant military leader and politician on one hand, but one of the darkest individuals, one of the most biggest psychopaths the world's ever seen. But considering he fought in World War I, he has lived in Germany, shockingly, his whole life. He has been around and he's developed all of these theories, all these these ideas, these personas per se, these people that he has problems with. And when he comes into power for the first time ever, he will have a chance to act on all the things he's been waiting for up until this point. Per se, as soon as he becomes Chancellor of Germany in 33, he openly begins to act on some of these. Per se, he tells the world Germany will no longer abide by the regulations of the Treaty of Versailles from World War One. Don't forget, way back in World War One, Treaty of Versailles, Germany had to accept responsibility for starting a world war. Yes, they did not start the war, but they started a world war. He says we will no longer accept that. And this is that 12-year span where they quit paying on their payment period from World War One. Remember, they owed $132 billion in 1919. Today, remember, we calculated it and it was over $22 trillion. Yeah, they're not going to pay on that anymore. And it's one of those things, as he's basically stating, we will no longer uphold the promises of the Treaty of Versailles. The question is, can he do that? Well, guess what? Yeah, he can. Anybody can do anything in this world unless they're stopped. And there's only two forces that can stop you. Yourself or someone else, right? So can he do that? Yeah, he can do anything he wants unless somebody stops him, because he's not going to stop himself, right? Not only that, he begins to very openly speak of Germany's need for living space. And by living space, obviously, he's meaning he wants to expand the country of Germany, which, if we were in class, I would ask you question of, is there just like a lot of empty forest land just around for the taking in Europe that nobody's claimed up until this point? Spoiler, no. Meaning, if he wants to expand Germany's living space, their breathing size, he's basically stating he needs to go, he is planning to go out and conquer other territories, add them onto the German Empire. And again, the question is, can he do that? Yeah, unless somebody stops him. So all of these things he starts to put in power. And again, as people are looking at the political side of it and what he's claiming he wants to do, there's also a specific people group and a whole melting pot collection of people with personas Hitler has an issue against. As we will see, it's not just the Jews, as we all know he had issues with. He had issues with Jehovah's Witnesses. He's going to have a hatred for homosexuals. He's going to have an issue with gypsies. He's going to have an issue with the disabled. Any person that he's got a problem with will be targeted. But again, the Jews are the big one. And every single problem that Germany has, or has had, is the result of the Jews. Just ask Hitler. It's so dumb, guys. It's the dumbest thing you've ever heard. But if you ask Hitler, absolutely a fault of the Jews. Everything, per se. Germany's loss of World War I. It is not because the United States entered it at just the right time, as we know. It's not because of the fact that the Allied powers rebounded. It's not anything that had come to that point whatsoever. It's not luck. It is the fault of the Jews. The military did not fight hard enough. True story. Done deal. Let's see. The fact that the German economy has crumbled at this point, because don't forget they're in this economic depression. A wheelbarrow of money in Germany during World War I wouldn't be worth a penny. People were burning wheelbarrows of thousands of dollars worth of money in the streets because it wasn't worth anything. The fact that the economy crumbled, no, it's not due to a depression. It is the result of all Jewish businesses. Everything he can think of to blame the Jews for, he does. And since they're responsible for every single freaking problem that Germany has, they should be punished, right? Completely their fault. They should be held accountable. So, your book gives the evolution of the persecution of the Jews about 4 sentences, which is sad. Let's be quite honest. It's pretty sad. It's a much bigger melting pot than that. Excuse me. The evolution of the persecution of the Jews will go on all the way to the start of World War II, which then first they go to ghettos, and then obviously we will go into the Holocaust. So it's a much deeper persona than that, per se. Examples: 1933, the year he steps into power. He doesn't know quite what he can get away with yet, so he's gonna start, pretty easily. He's gonna dip a toe in the persecution pool to see if anybody does stop him or anybody does halt his threat, right? So, he's going to start to boycott all Jewish businesses. any Jewish doctor, any Jewish physician, any Jewish lawyer, any Jewish shop, entrepreneur, artisan, boycott their businesses, go to any other carpentry shop than one run by someone of a Jewish family. Which, the real question, by the way, here too also is, how do you know if you're Jew or not? Obviously, those who practice the Jewish faith will die, right? Guilt by association. Easy peasy. But what if you're an atheist? What if you're a Lutheran? What if you're a Baptist? What if you're agnostic? Can you still be considered a Jew? Yes, you can. Any person that you have had in your family tree, your great 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 grandmothers, nephews, brothers, cousins, great sisters, stepbrothers, mothers, fourth nephews, sister, someone back in the 1200s in your family tree practiced the Jewish faith, you are a Jew. Guilt by association. Hmm? True story. You don't have to be practicing the faith. You don't have to be part of the heritage. You just have to have someone in your family tree you're targeted to. Which, hot, have you met Kettle? By the way, guys, Hitler had Jewish faith running through his bloodstream too, in his family tree too. But apparently, he was above it all, right? He's way over here somewhere. He was the exception to the rule. Everyone else, though, will be targeted. So you start to see, businesses be boycotted, which no one is going to stop him on that. You will see Jews be banned from the military. Jews did not fight hard enough in World War I. They are the reason Germany lost World War I. Hence, they should be punished. They should be banned from the military. No longer can fight. So don't want to forget so much of this. All professional jobs by 1935, you no longer could be if you were considered to be a Jew. You either practiced the faith or you had someone in your family tree who had been, which would make you a Jew. You could no longer be a doctor or a lawyer, or you would be the CEO of a company and you would be demoted all the way to the janitor. Which, again, not one damn thing wrong with being a janitor, right? But if you're the CEO of a company and you get demoted to the janitor because Hitler has a personal vendetta against you because he considers you Jewish, there's something ridiculously wrong with that, right? So again, so we start to, we start to see the Jewish propaganda come out, targeting, which mocks, because people who, are studious of this faith and are very, very hardcore Jews and do believe in it and do have a history in it and are from the part of the world where the Jewish faith originated, they do have specific characteristics. Where you were from, we all have things of our cultures, right? Jews, usually, people from that part of the world, sometimes have larger noses, etc., etc. So it's 1935, you start to see the Jewish propaganda mocking them. Just another way to poke at them start to come out. And you get all these things that he's doing. Can he do that? Yeah. Because he's not going to stop. He wants to do it. And no one's going to stop him. Then he gets really, really creative. He passes the Greek citizenship law, which declares any person of a Jewish faith, if they're married to someone of German bloodline, your marriage dissolved. It's null just like that. You will no longer be married. Because God forbid we pollute the pure German bloodline with all the Jewish crap, the Jewish poison. We don't need to be poisoning the bloodstream of the German faith, right? The German culture. It's so stupid. But true story, you can either be engaged, you can be married a year, you could be married 20 years, you could be married 50 years. If you are considered a Jew or you are Jewish, you're married to someone of German heritage, your marriage is dissolved on the spot. Your citizenship is taken away. Your marriage is dissolved with this act called the German Law Protection of Blood and Honor. The citizenship law also devolves. This devolves your citizenship. You are no longer a German citizen. You could be a fifth generation German. Your ancestors could have come over in the 900s. Go with me. But if you have any Jewish heritage anywhere in your family tree, you are dissolved. You are no longer a German citizen, and all your rights are stripped away. Think about it. Guess what? All of us who are living here today, all of you watching this on YouTube, all of you taking my class, all of us, none of us are pure American. We're all ancestors, or we're all descendants of our ancestors. Everyone came from somewhere to North America. There were no native North Americans, right? We all come from somewhere else in the world. So let's just say that Italian, anybody who's Italian has Italian, in their family tree, going through their bloodlines. The president, whoever it is, not going to say Trump. I know he's the hot topic. Any president who's in office decides anybody of Italian heritage is no longer an American citizen just because he has a problem with Italy. We lose our rights. We lose our freedoms. We're no longer protected by the Constitution. We're immigrants. We're aliens living inside our own country. And that is what Hitler did to everybody that was considered to be of Jewish faith, which either very openly and publicly was, or anybody who had any of it in their family heritage or in their family line. You have no rights. I mean, they incorporate the institution of segregation. You will have, just like what we have going on in the United States at the same time, we have obviously the Jim Crow laws in full effect, black and white drinking fountains, restrooms, facilities, etc., etc. Restaurants, they do that in Germany too. You have German and Jewish. You have German and Jewish pool halls, German and Jewish drinking fountains, German and Jewish restaurants, German and Jewish schools. Jewish children would no longer be allowed to go to Jewish schools. They would either be homeschooled or these specific Jewish schools, which were basically a shed and anybody be willing to teach them. Jewish children had to go there. Would you think that was the same level of education as the Germans were getting? Heck no. Not even close. So you see how all of this is going? I mean, every itty bitty tiny way that he can poke at them because everything in the freaking German society is their fault. He will. And he can. Because no one stopped him. Nobody knows how to. We've never seen anything like this in the country before. Well, we have it going on ours, but it was very, very popular. This is one man versus, basically laying this on a country unexpectedly. Like, what is happening? What is he doing? Right? So we don't know how to proceed. We've never seen anything like what he specifically himself is doing. And that it's just being accepted and it's being embraced and people are just okay with it. So it's a very interesting scenario, but it's one of those things that, as this goes on for several years, as we get closer to the start of when he's going to start to actually militarily invade other countries, 5 years in, everybody who is of Jewish descent, I mean, their livelihoods are just broken. Most of them can't find work. Most of them have been fired. Most of them have had their homes stripped away. They've had their livelihoods stripped away. They're hanging on by a freaking fingernail for committing not one crime in the freaking world, only because this one specific person has a problem with them and is targeting them. And no one is stopping them. So they're absolutely just crumbling. They're living in poverty. And since they're living in poverty, well, you know what? Let's, if they're going to be living in this type of livelihood anyway, let's go make them live in that type of livelihood somewhere else. This is when this concept of ghettos will be opened, which we'll talk about a whole lot more as we get into the Holocaust in my next lecture, probably. If not, it'll be the third lecture. But World War II is a big one. But we're going to start rounding them up. All of the Jews throughout Germany will be rounded up and sent to live primarily in the ghetto and then on to the Holocaust, as we know. But then, when he starts to invade other countries, the first country that he invades is Poland. When he overtakes Poland, every person of Jewish heritage or descent will be rounded up in Poland, taken to ghettos. He goes on into Austria. When Austria falls, every Jewish person will be rounded up, and so on and so forth. So it starts the evolution and the birth of the Holocaust. So all of this is going on in Germany as we're going through the depression in our own country. But 5 years in, he feels pretty ding dong comfortable with persecuting these people. This is, the persecution's going right on track. So now it's time to act on the bigger goal, the bigger agenda, which was Germany's need for living space. So he will put together, he was also training and reorganizing and recultivating this Nazi army during the last several years. He's put together this phenomenal fighting force. Germany has become a fascist country known as a Nazi-controlled country, right? Nazi Germany is a fascist country, by the way. So he's organized this. He's organized the country. He's changed the government. He's put together this army. And now it's time to increase their living space so that now fascist Germany can have room to grow. So into the first country he goes, the country that the closest country to him that borders Germany, easiest access, which is Poland. Into Poland. Now your book makes it sound and seem like Poland basically he set foot on Polish soil and they said we give up. Not quite, not quite that much. But what they did do, they did try to defend themselves to a specific point, but little bitty Poland versus Germany and this Nazi army, it's just a no-go, right? So they do fall incredibly quickly. And once Poland falls, they start work on this big concentration camp that became infinitely famous, probably the most famous concentration camp, Auschwitz. Auschwitz is not located in Germany, guys. Auschwitz is located in Poland. But into Poland he goes. He overthrows it. Poland falls. Next step, into Austria he goes. Very, very quickly, bless their hearts, Austria cannot defend themselves against this fascist country either. Very quickly, Austria will fall. Into Norway he goes. Denmark, Belgium, Sweden, Norway. I mean, all of these smaller countries. And as he goes into these smaller countries, I mean, he goes into Poland and then Austria and then Denmark and Norway and Holland and et cetera, et cetera. The big dogs in Europe are watching this with really nervous eyes, but they're taking no precautions whatsoever. France, Britain, Russia, they're not stupid. They know what he's doing. They see what he's doing. They're watching what he's doing. But they're scared to death to do anything about it. Why? Well, let's think about it for just a second as I take a drink of my coffee. Why would you think? Why would these bigger countries not initially take a move to stop them? They're broken. Guys, Germany did $132 billion worth of damage in World War I. They're still struggling to get back on their feet. They're still struggling to rebuild not only their country and physically, they're putting their governments back together. They're trying to get back on the way things were. They're trying to get back on stable footing from socially to economically to politically. They're trying to rebuild. They're not in any state to fight another war right now. I mean, they will, obviously, duh. They will if they have to. But if they don't have to, it's the dumbest thing that nobody wants to. They're not ready. It would not go well. They know it. So they're watching, and they have no idea, because again, they don't have any idea. They have no idea what Hitler's true intentions are. Maybe he's just going to overthrow these smaller countries, and he's going to stop before he gets the big ones and causes a bigger conflict. Maybe he's not wanting to poke the bears of Britain and France. Maybe he's going to go out and conquer a few countries, be done, and then we can go from there and deal with it. Maybe the League of Nations can step in, right? Nobody knows what his true intentions are, so they're nervously waiting to see, and they're just hoping and praying that he's going to stop. He's going to be fulfilled with what he's got with these smaller countries and call it a day. And to be, in their defense also, nobody knew. Even the Nazi army themselves, nobody knew what Hitler's true intentions were, except for Hitler. Hitler was the only person who knew what his true intentions were. And hopefully, unfortunately, as we also know at this point, his true intentions, his whole reasoning for doing this was not European domination, was not technically to start a war, was not to divide and conquer parts of Europe, or all of Europe. His true intention was world, globe domination. He was not going to stop until he controlled every country on the planet. And again, the question, can he do that? Is that realistic? Is that possible? And guess what, guys? Well, the easy answer seems to be like, no, the world, hello, United States, right? Heck no, there's absolutely no way that would be possible. He's freaking a daydreamer. He's crazy, which, by the way, he was. But he's crazy. Here's the deal, guys. It was possible. It was truly realistic. It was truly possible. There was all sorts of reasoning that he could have. No, it was more of a 60 to 40 maybe percent chance that, reasoning as why he could have not. 60-40 is probably generous per se, but guess what? It was also realistic. If he, because also there, as he spread, so is the Nazi country, the fascist country mentality will spread. You don't think countries like Japan might be jumped on this bandwagon? If he conquered every country throughout Europe, and every country belonged to him, what a power he would be. And then he goes to Asia. Asia falls under his belt. And controlling every country on both continents. He comes after us. Could we have held our own? Maybe. Most historians say, nope. And if we had fallen, if he controlled every country in Asia, every country in Europe, we fall, who's going to stop him? Who could stop him? Nobody. So, and that is a very broad overview. But again, I've got to get us through the entire war in 3 lectures. So, it is possible. There is and he knew it. He could see the end goal. He could see the light at the end of the tunnel. It was possible. And only he knew that was when he was going to stop. Everyone else is watching with really, really careful, nervous eyes. But obviously, he's not hoping hoping and praying he's going to stop. But of course, he's not going to stop. He is going to continue on. Obviously, as the more countries he goes to, the closer he starts to get to Britain and France, etc., etc. The writing is on the wall. The writing is absolutely on the wall. Everyone knows what he's doing. Everyone knows where he's coming. Everybody knows what's on the, what is happening. And Britain and France, like it or not, because again, they didn't want to, but of course, if they needed to, they would have, which they're at that point. They have to. So, by 1939, there is no other option. There is no other choice. Hitler is headed their direction. He's coming after them. Are they going to be on the offense or defense? They have to prepare. And unfortunately, this is what causes Britain and France, and then one by one other countries, Russia, etc., to fall in line. Declare war on Germany, and World War II will truly begin. Which, the big question, and again, by the way, just like World War I, we're going to have the big dogs, as you will see when you look in the PowerPoint. You have China will be on our side because of Japan, but Poland will be on the Allied side, Austria will be on the Allied side, Britain, Russia, France, etc. You really have the two big ones on the central side, on the Axis side. Because again, when World War II begins, you have all the countries, who'll join this thing, either join the Allied side, which is the good guys, which is us, right? Woot woot, or you'll join the Axis side. So basically all the same players, plus a few extras, as you will see in the PowerPoint, will join World War I on the Allied side. There's technically three big ones in the beginning on the Axis side: Japan and Germany. Spoiler alert. Here's the deal, though. Remember what Italy did in World War I? World War I, Italy started out loyal and on the side of Germany, right? But halfway through switched and came over to the Allied side. They do the exact same freaking thing in World War II. Beginning of World War II, they too have become a fascist country. And being a fellow, an allied fascist country, they will be loyal to Germany. So Italy will start out World War II on the side of Germany. Halfway through, though, they will have a change in government. They will have a change in political leadership. They will change their minds once again. They will flip to the Allied side. So in both World Wars, Germany played both sides of the fence. Started out loyal to Germany, changed their minds. If we ever, and I promise I hope to God we never do, but if we do have a World War III, because there are those who can see it possibly coming one day down the line, hopefully not. I'm just saying, it's going to be really interesting to see what Italy does. Just throwing that out there. Alright, David. But, anywho, so every country will jump on either the Allied side or the Axis side, and the question once again is, what is the United States going to do? Is the United States going to get involved? Roosevelt has proven to be a much more prophetic, aggressive, dominant leader than Wilson was. What is the United States going to do? Don't forget, guys, World War I, Wilson was flying blind, right? He didn't have a World War something to look back on. We'd never seen a situation of this magnitude occur before. He didn't have any direction to go. So he was flying blind, right? Roosevelt can look back at World War I. He can see what worked, what didn't, how America responded, Wilson's decision making, Wilson's leadership, what worked, and how everything the pieces fell together. He has something to look back on and refer to. And not to mention, he also has an easier time in this thing, because don't forget, World War I, we had never seen anything like this, and all of America was chomping at the bit to go to Europe and be a part of the big show, right? Well, now we've been to World War I. We fought in those trenches. We're coming back with PTSD and shell shock and all sorts of issues. We know what it's like. Before it seemed all adventurous and patriotic and romantic, blah, blah, blah. Now it's just hell. It is straight, sure, freaking hell. So, Roosevelt's going to have an easier time than Wilson on that, too. Yes, right off the bat, Roosevelt is going to mirror Wilson's stance of the United States. This is not our fight, not our cause, not our problem. We do have the League of Nations. Let's see if they can do anything with it. Let's see if Europe can work this out on their own. Let's not get involved. We are in this thing called a depression right now, right? Don't have a reason to get involved. But, so he will follow Wilson's neutrality stance on that. But also, it'll be much more accepted, much more embraced than it was with freaking Wilson, right? Because, right off the bat, 85% of the country this time in World War II don't want to go to war. When you had like 98% want to go to war in World War I, at least 84% of the country is anti-war at this point. So when Wilson said we're going to remain neutral, we were like, oh, hell to the no, right? When Roosevelt says we're going to remain neutral, they say, yep, that sounds fine. That sounds great. Absolutely on board. Thank you, Mr. President, right? Whew, dodged a bullet there. So his neutrality policy will be accepted and embraced much, much more quickly. But also, he doesn't expect the American people to remain neutral in thought and action the way Wilson did, right? He tells American people, pick a side. Support the Allied powers, support the Axis powers. I don't care. Whoever your loyalty lies to, I'm not going to try and stop. I'm not going to try and violate your rights. I'm not going to try and stop you. Take a side, but militarily, in terms of fighting this war, we will stay out of it, but as long as you agree to stay out of it, take a side. So he has an easier time right off the bat when it comes to that. But forgive me for a moment here, guys, if my phone just shut down. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. So we will stay out of it. Oh, see, I would have forgotten to mention this to you. Which again, this is all in the PowerPoint posted for you on Canvas, but this obviously lecture just to go along with it, right? It is in the beginning, 1940. World War I has begun. That Roosevelt decides he is going to run for an unprecedented fourth term. Excuse me, I just said fourth. Let's backtrack. I erased that. Roosevelt is going to run for unprecedented third term. That sounds better. And no other president, don't forget, has run for consecutively 3 back-to-back terms, right? We've only seen 1 or 2 other presidents ever won, who left office, like Teddy, his fifth cousin. Teddy stepped down, Taft took over. Teddy tried to rerun back in 1912, didn't work. But Teddy also, don't forget, stepped down. So we've never seen a president run consecutively 3 times, and everyone is like, he's going to do what now? But after 2 people step down, we've never had someone do this before. What in the holy, et cetera, et cetera. His poor wife, Eleanor, by the way. You read a little bit about her, probably in chapter 25. By the way, Eleanor Roosevelt redefined and set the true standard for what a first lady should be. Or should I say, what a first lady became. The expectations of a first lady are very much mirrored after a ridiculous amount of what she did and how she was and how she acted and what she accomplished and how she carried herself. She set the true measure of a first lady in this country. She was exceptional, as was her husband as president. But don't forget, Roosevelt was also a cheating man. Roosevelt was a cheating dog. A lot of people may not know this, because again, we all know he is the president that contracted polio. He got, obviously took major steps to hide his paralysis. But he also took many attempts to hide his infidelity, because he absolutely believed this country would see his physical disability as an overall disability, as a mental disability. That this country would not elect a man in a wheelchair back in the 1920s. And when he was, unfortunately, he was probably right. But also in the 1920s, they would not elect an immoral man, an unfaithful man. In fact, up until Trump, we have never had a man who has been divorced be elected president. No, Roosevelt was not divorced, but he was a cheating dog. Bless his heart, he marries. No, he actually meets Eleanor, ironically enough, at an event in the White House in the first decade of the 1900s when Teddy was president. And they were yin and yang. They were black and white. They were oil and vinegar. Got along. Loved each other at first. She was Damon. She was as quiet and shy and mousy, would be content to be, she was the bookworm over in the corner with a book at a party while he was the center of the room. Damon! He was the center of the room. I mean, the personalities were completely opposite, but opposites attract, right? They get married. He goes to World War I. He fights in World War I. He comes home. He survives, obviously. Well, his beloved wife is unpacking his suitcase and finds all these letters. A lot of men don't cheat well. They should never cheat in the first place, don't get me wrong. But a lot of men don't cheat well. They get caught, right? You didn't cheat well. She found all of these letters that have been written back and forth between him and the woman that he is having an affair with, which, this is rub salt in an open wound, guys, turned out to be her secretary. A woman by the name of Lucy Mercer, Eleanor's personal secretary. Think that knife in the back hurt just a little bit? Which he did what, again, some men do when they get caught and they've unfortunately cheated. He begged for forgiveness. He promised he would never see her again. It was over. He loved his wife, etc., etc., etc. But, so, please take him back, which he does. But within a few months, he goes straight back to it. He's having an affair with Lucy Mercer. And Eleanor contemplates divorce. But here's the deal. She's incredibly Catholic. She is a very, very faithful, loyal, hardcore Catholic. And the Catholic Church does not. Well, you can get divorced, but if you are divorced, you are not supposed to remarry. So even if they got divorced, technically Roosevelt could not. She could not get remarried, and Roosevelt couldn't marry Lucy Mercer. So what was the point, right? Let's just keep up the facade. So all up until this point, all 8 years of their presidency, on public. Don't forget, paparazzi 100 years ago, basically non-existent, right? You have reporters at the scene, you went home. There's not a lot of paparazzi the way there is now. So they would be out together in public, every time you're seen in public, loving, happy, couple, first lady, loving, happy, president, first couple. She fulfilled all of her first womanly duties, and actually not only did she fulfill them, she rose above them. I mean, she knocked everyone out of the park. I mean, she changed the institution of the first lady. But like if he was out at a rally and they left together, they got in the car together and they left. But then that car would drop her off at her house where she lived with their children in Virginia. And then the car would take him back to the White House where Lucy Mercer would be waiting in his bed. Lucy Mercer was at his bedside in Georgia the day he died. Eleanor was up in D.C. So don't you know, after being a phenomenal first lady, but having to keep up this lie, keep up this facade for the last 8 years, when her husband wants to run again, she's like, oh, sweet baby Jesus. I'm serious? We really have to do this again? Why? And everyone keeps asking him, why? And his answer is always the same. Why not? I can, and I want to. Why not? He never really gives this in-depth political reasoning behind his intentions. It's just basically a kind of, because I want to, why not? Now, he was incredibly popular at this point. He was this bright, Ruby, come here, get all flowers. Excuse me. This bright light, in the sea of darkness of the Depression. I mean, he basically knew he had this thing in the bag. He would get reelected. But on top of that, he's so aggressive. He's such a go-getter. Excuse me. That he didn't want to leave office. If we were going to go to war, which he could see coming in the future, unfortunately, he assumed that was what was going to happen. He wanted to be in office. He wanted to take the bull by the reins. He wanted to lead us into the war. He wanted to lead us through the war. So it's like, why not? Right? Understandable to a point. So he runs. You may have heard of a man by the name of Wendell Willkie before. Most of you probably haven't. Guess what? You never will again. It was the Republican candidate, lost in a landslide. He gets reelected to a third term. Begins his third term in 1941, just as this war in Europe is really starting to heat up. And it is in 1941 that things will escalate. Because again, the war is in full swing over... Excuse me, guys. The war is over in full swing over in Europe. Things are not going well for the Allied powers. We're good. Okay. Excuse me. It's not going well for the Allied powers whatsoever. And Hitler is quickly on his way to invading France and Britain and Russia. Excuse me. France and Britain and Russia. But again, don't forget they're broke. $132 billion owed to them. Barely a dent in that has been paid off, right? So they don't have the money or supplies or anything necessary. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. We'll try this cup of coffee. Maybe it'll be better. Good Lord. See, just like we were in class. Anywho, so they don't have the money, supplies, anything necessary. And Roosevelt, the pressure is imminent. And Roosevelt is getting this knock on the Oval Office door of these countries going, oh my God, help, right? Basically laying out the situation. We're running out of everything that we need. We don't have money to buy more right now due to our economic conditions. We need help, but we can't afford to pay you right now. But on the flip side, if you don't help us, we're sunk. We're done. This is up to you. Can you please help us? So we can't pay you right now, but without you, we're sunk. What are you going to do? Well, Roosevelt creates this program, first for Britain, by the way. Britain is the first country asking to take advantage of this, asking for help. called the Lend-Lease program. It's in his own words. The Lend-Lease program was like one neighbor helping another neighbor put out a house fire. His own quote explaining this to his cabinet: say to England, we will give the guns and ships you need, provided that when the war is over, you will return to us in kind the guns and ships that we have loaned you. Or say, what do you need? Tell us what you need. Because again, by the way, this would also help out our economy. It would find a reason and a way to bring people back to work in these industries that were not reopened at that point. We didn't need to open, military industries in that day and age. We were building roads and airports and he was putting people back to work in his New Deal and things like, creating institutions like the lunch lady, et cetera, et cetera. This would open up a whole new part of the American economy that had been shut down and needed to be reopened in the first place. So he says, what do you need? Tell us what you need, and we'll lend it to you right now. You can have it. And then when the war is over, we'll figure out how you pay us back. Right? So we will make you, we will get for you, we will create for you, we will loan you anything, everything you need. Send us a list, we'll send it to you. When the war is over, we'll figure out how you pay us back. Deal? Well, holy crap, heck yeah, deal, right? So obviously we'll start to open, up the support to the Allied powers. Britain take advantage of this. Russia will be the next country to come to us and be like, hey, yeah, you know that Lend-Lease program that you created for Britain? Hitler's changed course. He's had direction. He's headed our direction. We're as sunk as a boat as Britain was too. Can we take advantage of that Lend-Lease program? Roosevelt says, sure. And so actually, more countries that come in and ask to take part of this deal, the more business that we're getting, right? The more orders that we get, the more people that we need, the more businesses that can be reopened, the more people that can go back to work. Technically, this is still why we're not getting the check immediately. This is still a win-win for us at the same time frame, putting people back to work. Ruby. 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 Dogs barking. Live time. Anywho. So, it's basically foreign aid becomes his domestic policy. Anybody that needs help of any kind, he says, you need our help, let us know. Now, he makes this offer to the world. He made any country, which means Germany technically could have taken advantage of this too. He's not cutting out the Axis powers. He says, you need our help, you let us know, we will help you. But every country who's taking advantage of this is Allied powers, right? For the most part, in terms of this war. Everybody who's asking, oh my dear God, help. There are countries who need their help defending themselves against Hitler and Germany. So to Germany, there's two sides to every coin, right? As I just spill coffee down my jeans. There's two sides to every coin. So to Germany, it appears as though Roosevelt is against Hitler. He is aiding and he's siding with the Allied powers more, even though he's, like Wilson, doing this neutral thing, right? So to Germany, he says, no, shame on us. If you fool us once, you're not fooling us twice. We see this plane, we think you're trying to play us. Not happening. They're going to send us a message, right? Go back to World War I. What did Germany do to America to poke at Wilson? Sank our ships, right? Starts with the Lusitania. We asked for an apology. Germany says we ain't apologizing for Bupkis. In fact, they sunk a few more ships after that, right? And what did Wilson do? Let's see. He jumped up and down and he had a freaking hissy fit and he got rid of his hair and he had a freaking meltdown and he did nothing. Right? He did nothing. They're banking on Roosevelt doing that exact thing. So there is a ship, the USS Destroyer, that Germany's getting, Germany feels like we're aiding the Allied powers. Germany feels like we're claiming to be neutral, but we're absolutely against them. Germany says, you're not going to fool us. We see what you're doing. We don't like it. Germany's going to send us a message, and they're going to sink an American ship on purpose, by the way. At first, keep that in mind. Sink our ship on purpose to send us a message, expecting Roosevelt to do what Wilson did. Hashtag nothing. But Roosevelt's not Wilson. Roosevelt is one of the most aggressive, oh, hell no you didn't, presidents we've ever had. He says, you want to play Battleship? Let's play Battleship. B4, right? He says, you sink our ship, we sink yours. And he tells the American Navy, you come across any German ship at sea, you have orders to sink it. You sink one of ours, we'll sink 10 of yours. Don't mess with us. Don't poke this bear. It will not go well for you. Which is exactly what Germany was not relying on. So, come on, guys. The USS Destroyer, they knew it was our ship. Oh, my dear God, right? They knew it was our ship. But as soon as Roosevelt's like, oh, hell no. You want to play Battleship, let's play. Oh, whoa, hang on, wait a minute. But that was your ship? Oh my God, we had no idea. Backtracking, singing a different tune. Right? We had no idea. We thought, oh my dear God. And guess what? What did Wilson want from Germany in World War I? An apology. What did they do in World War II when Roosevelt sank starships? Oh my God, we had no idea that was your ship. We are so sorry. Apologizes and they backtrack. They say, look, hey, we don't want any trouble. Because let's be honest, Hitler is smashing this thing in Europe. Do you really think he wants the United States to get involved in this thing? Hell no. The last thing they want the United States to get involved in this war. Roosevelt's basically showing, you poke the spear, we come after you. Oh, nope, we're out. Germany, long story short, will back off, as it shows on the PowerPoint. Again, paraphrasing in the space of time. Again, just to one of our lectures. So it's not, long story short, Germany that pulls us into World War II. Now, we will obviously get involved, spoiler alert, but it's not Germany that pulls us into World War II. It is Japan. For when foreign aid becomes Roosevelt's domestic policy. Again, that is open. There is a worm from through here. Sorry, guys. Hello. Okay. That is weird. See, real time. What in the holy? Alright, you come here. Where are you? What? Come over here. It was a little caterpillar. Anyway, okay. See, told you real time. Okay, so foreign aid becomes Roosevelt's domestic policy. Any country in the world who needs American assistance can have it. And guess what? On a different continent, in a different situation, not involved in Hitler, not involved in this war going on at all, completely different circumstances, there is a war raging between two other countries named China and Japan. Completely separate again, we'll make that clear, completely different. But this war going on between China and Japan. Of the two, let's think about it for a minute. Between China and Japan, which country is larger? We should all be saying China, right? Between the two countries, which has the superior military? We should all be saying China. Kidding. Japan, right? Japan has got, it's literally like these two neighbors. One has a Rottweiler, one has a Yorkie. Well, one day both dogs get out of the yard, they meet out on the street, and all of a sudden you hear this dog fight go off. And you're like, what in the holy? And you go look out your window, and there's the two dogs are fighting, and that Yorkie is just ripping to shreds that big old Rottweiler. That is China and Japan. And Japan is just ripping through, obliterating China. China is in devastated, times. There's your book talks about a very, very famous, one of the most famous battles of this war between China and Japan called the Rape of Nanking, which in this one battle, 350,000 civilians, men, women, elderly, children, 350 Chinese civilians will be butchered, and I do mean butchered, at the hands of the Japanese. Women were raped with bayonets and impaled. Children were impaled. Infants were thrown into pots of boiling water to scald and burn and drown to death. People were beheaded. It was just this gruesome show of grotesque brutality against civilian population. And then that 350,000 people died in that one attack. China needs help. So the history repeats itself, guys, all the time. And yes, different ways, but the events are very, very similar. Go back to chapter 21, which you read over on your own. You had a book quiz over it. But go back to the Spanish-American War. Cuba was fighting for independence against Spain, etc., etc. Cuba came to us and said, please join this war for independence against Spain, which obviously, spoiler alert, if you read chapter 21, we did, right? We first went to Spain and said, hey, back off. Leave Cuba alone, find a middle ground you both can live with, or we will get involved. Roosevelt does the same thing with Japan, saying, hey, look, in this issue, we consider ourselves on the side, we are loyal to China. We sympathize with the Chinese on this one. Back off, get out, leave them alone, or we will get involved. Well, Japan's not going to be scared off, just like Spain wasn't scared off, right? They said, you want to get involved, come get us, right? So it's going to irritate them. So, Spanish-American War, McKinley's going to show, hopefully, to send Spain a message that we're not playing around. He's going to send the ship, the Maine, with the Navy aboard to the port of Havana, Cuba, to say, hey, look, we're not playing here, right? I'm not playing. Don't make me say the word go. I'm sending you a silent message that I'm serious. All I gotta do, we're there. Say the word go, and then we're gonna attack, right? And of course, then the Maine was exploded and blew up in the port of Havana, Cuba. Roosevelt's basically going to do that same thing here, guys. He tells Japan, back off or we will get involved. And Japan's like, psst. Right? Not, they're irritated at us, not bothered about us. So Roosevelt is going to send them a silent message. He's going to say, look, you back off or we're going to get involved here. So this is when he's going to send the Pacific Fleet to Pearl Harbor in the islands of Hawaii. Silent message to Japan. Why will he send them to Hawaii? Because it was the closest place we could get, land-wise, physical-wise, to Japan. We are as close to Japan physically as we can be without setting sail. If we set sail, the next place we is Japan. So it's this silent message of, hey, don't poke this bear. Don't make me. All you gotta do is say the word go. We're on the way. It's again that hoping that silent threat will get through to them and they'll back off. That is why they're there. Now, all of these Navy men and then these people who were sent, these military personnel who were sent, did they really ever think they were going to Japan? Nah. Did they really ever? I mean, they were on paid vacation, guys. They were freaking being stationed in freaking Hawaii, and they didn't think they were going to be fighting this thing whatsoever freaking ever. Like, it's win-win, right? But while they didn't believe we were going to be getting involved, obviously things will transpire differently. But that's why they're stationed there. And instead of Japan going, oh crap, they're serious. Okay, we're so bad. Our bad. We'll get out of China. No big deal. We'll just back up now. This is going to irritate them more. They're going to become more aggressive. They're going to become, hostile. They're going to start plotting and planning. If we're going to send them a message, so will they. They are going to respond. So, November 26th. That is not, people miss that all the time, guys. November 26th is not the date of Pearl Harbor. November 26th is when Japan starts to actively plan for an attack, right? That is when everything's going to start to be set in motion to send us a message. You're going to see, they're going to be, if you've seen the movie Pearl Harbor, which is kind of like Titanic, there's some accuracy when it comes to the actual event itself there. Like in Pearl Harbor, there's some accuracy when it comes to like the attack. The love story, oh my dear God, right? It's fictional. It's to draw the rest of us in to watch it. But if you have seen the movie, there are parts throughout it where, you see Japan calling random businesses throughout the islands, asking, trying to figure out exactly where the Pacific Fleet is stationed, whether he can, call these random businesses on these different islands to figure out, A, what islands they're on, and then what side of the island, if they, if these businesses can see the ships, which tells them what side of the island they're on. They get the latitude and longitude. They figure out our exact location to where we are established on this island. Then they're asking questions about the weather patterns, because guess what? They don't have the freaking internet. 1941. They can't just go on their phones and check weather.com for the 10-day forecast. It's a little bit more complicated. So they start asking for conditions of weather because they're planning to attack us, but they're legitimately depending on a very specific type of weather to attack us under, which is, in fact, clear, sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. Why? Because they don't want any fog, any clouds, any chance. So when they drop their bombs and attack us, clouds cause them to miss their targets, right? So again, trying to find a day where the forecast is going to be sunny and bright as can be. They pay attention to our communication, our military communication going across telegraph lines. They learned that on the morning of December 7th, we are set to have a large group of B-17 fighter planes flown over to Hawaii from the mainland, from California, to be in Hawaii in case we need them, in case we attack. So if they attack on the morning of December 7th and a big group of planes is picked up on our radar, well, it won't cause that much suspicion because there's already a group of planes planned and plotted to be coming over that morning anyway. I mean, they for 2 weeks, well, November 26th to December 7th, this thing is planned to the T. They don't miss a detail. They do their freaking homework. They study for their freaking final, right? They know this thing inside and out. They absolutely plan this thing to a T. And as we all know, it was a dramatic success. 7:55, right before 8 o'clock in the morning, right before 8 a.m. on the morning of December 7th, 1941, Japan will hit us with a brilliant ambush attack. And it will just be one of the biggest smashing successes Japan could have hoped for. The whole incident, the whole time the whole event will last about 2 hours. But it's a 2-wave attack. You'll have the first wave come over, obviously catch us completely off guard, completely with the element of surprise. And it's just a bloodbath. It's just an absolute bloodbath. But the first wave, long story short, comes over as I'm getting into the events in my head. Comes over again. There will be the huge planes come over that will, with the goal of dropping bombs and destroying not only our air bases, but our naval bases. And we have 20 big, huge military naval ships. But we also have smaller ships too. So the goal, these bombers to take out all of our vessels, all of our military ships, but also our aircraft. And then there's dive bombers who come, are supposed to come through, who can get really, really close to the ground to kill off and attack the civilian population. So destroy all of our planes, destroy all of our big, massive battleships, our littler ships, as many people as possible. First wave comes through, and then there's about half an hour of peace. There's about half an hour of quiet. Again, with the goal of making us think, hopefully, possibly this thing's over. But then a second wave comes through, literally with the goal of picking off and destroying anything that the first wave missed. And again, as we all know, it is a tremendous success. Overall, 20 ships will be sunk, including 8 of our major naval battleships, including the most famous one that when it sunk and everyone who was trapped on board drowned, it was directly below the surface of the water, the USS Arizona. So there are, still to this day, everybody who died, who drowned on that ship, when it sunk, literally right below the surface of the water, they're still there. That is their final grave, that is their final resting place. But overall, 20 ships were taken out. We lost a ridiculous amount of our planes. 2,000 people will be killed. 1,000 people will be injured. It is just a traumatic success. And when Roosevelt is, heard of it, hears of it, and when Roosevelt is able to be told of it, it just, don't laugh, brings him to his knees. Haha, I know. But it just, cripples him. It just devastates him. And he asked, how long did it last? And he basically told him, it's still going on, sir. It's not over. The whole thing takes 2 hours. Again, it's just horrific. But again, we were able to get, here's the deal, and now half-hour wave apiece, we were able to get up into the air. We were able to defend ourselves somewhat against the second wave of the attack. And, what the heck? I just lost my PowerPoint. That's okay, we're just over. Anyway, you'll see on the PowerPoint, we were able to get out, so there will be 4 Navy Marine Corps medals given. There are many, many medals of honor that are given out. If you have seen the movie, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character was the first African American who received a Navy Cross, the first decorated African American Navy sailor in American history, because he was able to get to one of the big guns on his ship, and he was able to take down 1 or 2 Japanese planes on his own. So first African American Navy sailor decorated. But even with, we were able to shoot down 11 aircraft of the Japanese. So we did defend ourselves somewhat, but it was a tremendous success for the Japanese. When the Japanese colonel was commended, on was complete success. He basically states, the only thing I fear we've done today is to awaken a sleeping giant. Which they did. Right. Because pretty quickly, not long after, the next day after Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt will go before Congress, will go before the Senate, lock his braces in place, stand, and deliver that infamy speech. Which, the infamy speech is one of the, obviously, most famous speeches. Everyone knows the first line. Yesterday, the morning of December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. The United States military was brutally, attacked by the Empire of Japan, etc., paraphrasing a little bit now. We all know the line, though. The day that will live in infamy. And he goes before Congress and delivers this brilliantly moving, dramatic speech, which was not long, by the way. Roosevelt mirrored Lincoln that way in in dramatic ways, per se. Lincoln, when he got up, his speeches were not long. He did not have an opening, thesis statement and the conclusions, paragraph and his, opinion comments in there. He got up, said what needed to be said, to the point. I mean, the Gettysburg Address, 7 sentences, right? Roosevelt is very much that way. The infamous speech is only 7 minutes long, but it is one of the most remembered, it is one of the most inspired speeches, of the 19th century president has ever given. And he will go on to obviously ask Congress to declare war against the Empire of Germany. Which, we talked about this before, when the president goes before the Senate, asks for a declaration of war, it can be weeks, to usually months before they come back with a answer, right? When it came to Germany, though, after Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt stands before the Senate, asks for a declaration of war. Guys, they come back in less than an hour. It usually takes months to get a response. They came back in less than an hour with a vote of yes. And against the Empire. I said Germany, didn't I? I just said Germany earlier. Duh. Refrain. He asked for a declaration of war against the Empire of Japan. Sounds much better. That is the one that they came back to within an hour with a vote of yes. But, so Japan comes first. Duh. Pearl Harbor. I can't believe I said Germany. My voice is going. We're almost done with their lecture, I promise. But, long story short, so they come back in less than an hour with a vote to go war against Japan. A few days later, however, the way the World War II is transpiring, the way things are moving, we know that's coming too. We're not stupid. We know it's coming. So, he goes back before Congress and says, you know what, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If we're going to go to war, let's go to war. Let's handle everything at one time. He goes back to Congress. He asks this time for a declaration against Germany. He asks for a declaration of war against Germany. Congress once again very quickly responds, and we will be in World War II. Pearl Harbor pulled us in against Japan. We go ahead and decide to fight Germany as well. Our troops will be split between 2 continents, but the United States will in fact enter World War II. First lecture down! Not too bad, right, for those of you who stuck with it. So, this will conclude our first lecture. Hopefully it wasn't too painful. Hopefully this worked. It's a beautiful background, right? Next one will come from my apartment, I'm sure. But, anywho, thank you for sticking with me, for those of you who did. I will be back tomorrow with our second lecture over World War II. You guys have a good day. See you later.